What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. I'm going to talk about some very important earnings that just came out, not to mention what the economic calendar is telling us. But just note that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Weeble link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total. And deposit $25,000 more, and you're guaranteed 75. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So SPY is dipping a little bit. It had this rejection that happened yesterday because of ASML and also the Israel news. And then on top of that, what's happening is they're trying to hold this 20 EMA. The question is, will this hold or will this get a rejection? So I'll be watching this very, very carefully. But I'm just going to talk about something else real quick before I break down more details about these charts. It's very important to know what's happening with our data and also with the news. So for Wednesday, October 16, 2024, which is today, there's not really much coming out, just export and import prices. It's all very minor. But at 11:30 a.m. we have the 17-week bill auction. So watch and see what that leads to. Might cause some volatility. Besides that, we had ASML supposed to announce earnings today. It actually kind of leaked these early. Then we had Morgan Stanley announcing its earnings today. Tomorrow we have TSMC and Netflix, so just keep that in mind. For Morgan Stanley, just starting off with this one, they did relatively well. So that's what the good news is, at least thus far. They did better than expected because their revenue was at 15.38 billion above expectations. Earnings were at 1.88 a share or $1.88. That's above expectations. So not bad whatsoever. Guidance was pretty good with their overall equity revenue above expectations, up about 21%. So good earnings from them. That's why the share price is up. ASML, on the other hand, ended up losing $50 billion in its overall valuation. Has happened as a result of what happened with earnings. So they released their earnings a day early in an error. So you know what happens, and what happened was they had very, very weak guidance. It was in the lower half of a range. And then on top of this, they ended up having to basically do something very, very differently when it comes to their new orders. So they slowed down their orders because sales were projected to slow down, which is not the best of news. That's why the share price ended up seeing a big dump. Now, for other pieces of news, I want to mention that ASML basically is what led the market down yesterday, not to mention the news about Israel. So it's still very, very intense. And then the banks are holding up a lot better because of good earnings. Besides that, I didn't see anything else that's too crazy. So I just wanted to mention that. Anyways, let's talk about the charts now. So what's happening with all these charts? When you look at SPY, right, you will see that we had a tendency of basically trying to hold these supports. So if you look at the green line here, this is our 20 EMA. SPY was trying to hold this in the past, and the 50 EMA as well. So as of recent, we're about to test the green line. That's our 20 EMA at 579. If we lose 579 today, this is going to be our big test and critical supports. This thing could easily start dipping back down towards the previous resistance becoming support at 577.5. And if that fails us, we go down to 575. If we hold above 579, look at resistance in this 582 area. So if we hold above 580, there could be an attempt to try to get back up to 582. So keep that in mind, guys. We have a very important range between 582 and 579. Whichever way we break determines the much bigger move. But so far, we're barely holding 580, so it looks a little bit weaker. I think we're going to be testing the 579s. We'll have to see if that holds or not. If not, this is going to be dumping more, so that's going to be our big test. In order for the market to dump more, we have to lose 579. We'll see if that ends up being the case. But so far, we're just kind of shuffling in the pre-market around those levels. ES is also shuffling just under the 20 EMA at 58.68. If we break down, we're looking for the 58.80s. If we reject, we're going to be looking for a dip back down to the 58.50s and below. We're stuck in the middle. We could attempt to push it for 58.80, and then we'll see what kind of reaction we get after that. For Nvda is also trying to rebound. If we hold above 133.5, excuse me, if we hold above this, we're looking for basically 135. If 135 breaks, I think this can actually rally back up to about 137. If we don't hold above 135, we kind of like push towards that, which I think we might do. We might push close to 135. And if we reject around that, then we could be dipping back down towards the lower 130s. So watch and see which way we go from there. For Bitcoin, we remain more bullish. We have 68,000 as our resistance, not to mention 68,500 is our next potential target. We remain bullish nonetheless, so I'll be watching to see how this develops. As far as Tesla goes, we've been dipping quite a bit the last couple of days, but it's trying to base at 215. If we lose 219, look for 217 and then 215 as our supports. If 215 fails us, we turn a lot more bearish for like 212, the lower levels like 202. If we're bullish, you want to hold above 220. If we hold 220, though, this could attempt to look for a little push. And I think that's going to happen in the morning. I think when we open, this might try to pop a little bit for like 224 or something, 225, then come back down and kind of consolidate. So that's what my view is, at least for the time being for Tesla. For NQ, we could attempt to rebound just a little bit for 20,400. We'll see if we get a rejection and start dipping or not. But look for a little test of 20,400 and we'll see what the reaction happens to be. For the excuse me, for the QQQ, we basically have 492 as resistance and then 489 as our support. Look for a push for 492. If that breaks, we're looking for 494. If this rejects, we'll be dipping back down to 489. So watch and see what the move happens to be. For Aapl basically has resistance around 234. If we end up dipping, we're basically looking for a move back down towards 231. That's going to be our 20 EMA. It looks like it might dip a little bit closer to the 231s before it tries to bounce, so watch for that. Let me just speed through the rest of these because time is very limited for me. The IWM is kind of like at resistance at 225. It looks to me like it's gonna be a tough resistance, so it might dip a little bit. Could be looking for a retest of like 224 before it tries to push higher, but overall the chart remains more bullish. AMD, it's still down quite a bit. It's trying to get back above its key supports. Watch and see a test of 158 and a 160 and see if we reject off those levels. We could get closer to 160 and we'll see what the move is if we reject or not. For Amazon, we're dipping back down to 187 and 186.43. We could dip to this zone right here and we'll see if we bounce or not. For Meta, we're also dipping right here. We're looking for basically 582 as our support, followed by 580, and we'll see if we bounce off that or not. But for now, it looks a little bit more bearish. So Meta could be looking for basically the 580 area. For Microsoft, we look a little bit more bearish. If we don't hold above 417, we're looking for the 415 targets. And then the last but not least, we have the notorious Google, could be dipping back down to 165. We'll see if it bounces, but that's pretty much it for my video. So be sure to watch your levels very carefully, everyone. The market's in a very, very dire place. We are going to be dipping a little bit, and we'll see if we hold this support. Does 579 hold or not? If it does not hold, this could be dumping, and I think it'll easily come down to 577 and 575. If we hold 579 on SPY, we could attempt to rebound. So we'll see, right? It's a very tricky market, so you never know. We look a little bit more bearish for now, so we will see just to be safe. Anyways, I'll be back in a couple of hours to give you guys another update. Until then, make sure you watch your levels very carefully and be very patient with this market. It could be very tricky sometimes, so just keep that in mind. Anyways, thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. Watch your levels very carefully and look for a big test in the morning to see if we hold support. The market still has those signals. All right. Thank you and peace out.